Welcome to the last episode of Switching to Rayon from your legacy CAD software. This series is meant to help you transition smoothly from your current CAD tool into Rayon. In this tutorial, we're going to talk about all the steps that come after importing your DWG file and organizing it, editing, and designing it. We'll talk about how to export your work from Rayon compared to how it's done in other CAD tools like AutoCAD by creating PDF files at scale, DWG files, and of course, images. We'll also talk about how to build your templates and libraries for your future projects and how to collaborate with others in Rayon. You can collaborate with other stakeholders in real time in a web-based environment. Let's dive in to learn more. All right, before we dive into the logic of canvases in Rayon, just to recap how model and layout work in AutoCAD. In AutoCAD, you typically have a model space, which is where you import and draw your architectural drawing. And then you have layouts. Layouts is different tabs, basically, which contain a page, so a sheet with a drawing. This is how it's structured in AutoCAD. So one model space and then multiple layout options. In Rayon, it's a bit different. We also have the concept of drawing in one place and presenting in another, but we call it canvases. If you go to the top left panel, you're going to find the canvases here. Model canvas is where you can import and create your drawing, and paper canvases is where we recommend to set up your pages and set up views, as we did in the first tutorial briefly, to create an exhaustive presentation. I'm going to jump into a bit of a more baked drawing set to show this. So this is a good example of a paper canvas containing a few drawings, sections, mood boards, and then the model canvas that contains the actual floor plans and drawings and the millwork drawing, for example. You can create multiple model canvases and multiple paper canvases in Rayon. So you have a bit of more flexibility in how your drawing is structured. Second off, you have a bit of more flexibility with using viewports in Rayon. Traditionally in AutoCAD, you'd add a viewport in your layout, looking into your drawing, and that's it. In Rayon, you can use views for different purposes that we're gonna look into right now. So before I explain exactly how the view works, I want to show how to add a page. Pages can be added in all canvases. So if you have a specific use case in mind, you can also add pages in your model canvas. But basically, we recommend to place them here in the paper canvas. You can find pages and views down here. I'm going to click on the page, and I can either draw a page to a custom size if I'm making, a specific pamphlet or anything, or I can select a custom standard size right here. A2, A3, A4, you name it. Let's do A3 or A4 for it to match the rest of the set. You can create multiple pages, so basically you can just copy this or create a few, and so on and so forth. All right, next up is views. The views are right here under the pages. And when I click on view, I can open this viewport, and you'll see here on the right that it kind of pulls from any one of my canvases. Here I can set which canvas I'd like to look into. Let's go ahead and look at that floor plan and elevation canvas. Now that we have the view set on the page, we can click it. And we have two options, which we're going to discuss: edit and override. I'll start with quickly editing the view, which means I want to kind of position it on my drawing. You'll notice that I can pan and zoom the same way that I do on the Rayon model within my view to help kind of orient myself and centralize it. Then I can set its scale using the scale command here on the right. Let's make this one to 200 maybe. And yeah, for the sake of the presentation, this will work. Now that I did this, I can also crop my view. So I'm just gonna click down on command, crop this view, and maybe purpose it or place it differently on the page. I can also create views at different scales on the same page. So for example, if I want to have one drawing at 1 to 200, I can place that there, and maybe then I want to show something else closer up. So for example, if I wanted to show maybe my millwork drawing right here, I could then edit it as well. Let's change this to 1 to 25 or so. And then you can see how I can slowly but surely start creating my sheets. I can also add images and others directly onto this drawing here, which other than AutoCAD is a bit more streamlined and comfortable because Rayon has a media-rich canvas where you can add visuals, colors, textures, and such. So far so good. We've seen how this paper canvas kind of resembles AutoCAD's layout, but I can have everything in one place, all my drawings. And you can see that I added views directly here, like the viewport in Rayon. By the way, you can also see how I'm already collaborating with some other folks in my drawing that are taking a look at what I'm editing and doing. We'll discuss more about that soon. But I just want to show you how views can also be useful in Rayon for other use cases. For example, if you're drawing sections and elevations, this is one strong use case. I can add views, in that case also pages, directly in my model canvas as well. So let's say I wanted to draw maybe a section for my drawing. What you can do is add a view directly on your model canvas. And this is basically a live representation of your drawing itself. So the view can be overridden, both its styles can be overridden and its layer proposition can be overridden, but its drawing elements cannot be edited. So this will always reflect the original one source of truth actual drawing. For example, if I take this bed, you can see it here. If I move it, it's going to be moved in my view as well. Let's undo that. I'll talk a bit about overriding when we go back to the paper canvas, but what I wanted to show for the model canvas is how views can be used to create sections and elevations. So let's say I want to create a section of this drawing right now. I may want to flip it, rotate it, change it. Sometimes in AutoCAD you'd use UCS or change this in other ways. In Rayon, this is really easy. All you have to do is kind of flip your view, either by 90 degrees or free-handed. You can use guidelines in Rayon. So again, a bit similar to what you can find in AutoCAD to kind of structure your drawing. And then you can also rotate. I just use the shortcut RR for my rotate command. And I'm gonna straighten out this section. And this is basically now, gonna help me draw a section looking to whichever direction I want. So if I select it and flip it here, it will flip. So views can be used for multiple use cases, as you can see, typically for setting up your drawing presentation and then for creating sections, but there's many more. So now we've introduced what views are, how and where you can use them, and the fact that you can kind of edit and crop them to organize them. The one thing left to talk about is overriding views. So as I mentioned, there are two types of overriding. Once you select a view, you'll see here we used edit before to kind of place our view. When you click on override, you have two options for overriding: layers and overriding styles. Overriding layers are meant to help you create a drawing set where you may want to show the same view of your drawing but with different information and data portrayed. For example, you may want to have a furnishing plan, lighting plan, and finish plan of the same view by hiding and unhiding different elements. So for example, if I wanted to hide my furniture in this floor plan, I can hide the furniture here. And if I wanted to do the same for maybe zones or other, I can do that as well. Let's say this is a construction, wall construction plan. Then if I want to show this, again and again, but each time with a different view in mind, I can copy, place, and then override with different settings for this view. So I'll, again, not double click because that will edit. I will select and override. And then let's turn back on the furniture and the flooring. And you can see that the view itself will always be kind of this one source of truth and represent our actual drawing on our model canvas, but its representation will change. So this sheet can be called, construction plan, and this sheet can be called furnishing plan. This is one type of overriding. The second type of overriding is for styles. So for styles, when we're drawing in the model canvas right here, you can see that we have a stroke scale that applies when we draw. We're always drawing at 1:1, obviously, and the stroke scale by default is 1:40. But sometimes if you're drawing very, close up or farther away drawings, so millwork or site plans, you may want to set this differently for a more comfortable drawing experience where you can see the stroke width on the get-go. So basically this won't affect your drawing export. It's more for you as you work. Then when you're ready to export and you want to change or set the actual stroke of your exported sheet, you can override your drawing. So I'm clicking here on my millwork, override. And this time, instead of overriding layers, I'm going to override styles. For example, let's say that this is the stroke width I used in my model canvas, but I want it to be a bit more refined for my presentation. I can select the elements in my drawing right now, let's say this one, and go to the style panel, which we learned about in the previous tutorial. I'll go to edit style, and here I have the millimeter precision dimension of this stroke. So I can change this. For example, let's see how this would look like if it was way thicker. There you go. And let's make it thinner, and we can even make it thinner than what we had before. When you see this blue color, this is the indication that your style has been overridden. You can always revert back to the original. But once you do this, basically what it allows you is to have the same drawing ready to export in different scales. So for example, if we want, instead of this millwork drawing, to have a detail from this floor plan, let's copy it. And then let's kind of crop it to zoom into a specific area. All right, it's a bit random. I'm gonna edit it and maybe choose maybe some kind of detail I'd like to show of this plan. All right, so let's say I wanted to show design detail of the door, and I want this view to have a specific stroke scale for 1 to 20 scale, and this one to have a 1 to 200. All I have to do is override the stroke scale. So again, clicking on this, let's see, this should be 1 to 20 is what we said. All right, and then for overriding, I'll go to override, and I can change, for example, if I want to show the door in a bit of a thicker configuration, I'll double click it, select the style, and make it a bit thicker. So in a nutshell, those are the different use cases and ways to override your views. You can, as we said, use views across model canvases and paper canvases for exporting or for drawing sections or other use cases. And you can override the styles and the layer settings to have your views represent your drawing each time for a different use case. Now let's move to the next topic, which is how to actually export these drawings and the formats that Rayon offers. You can export your drawing from Rayon in different formats: DWG, DXF, PDF, and image format. For exporting your DWG to continue working with a 3D tool or with other stakeholders, you can export DWGs from each model canvas. So the paper canvas will basically not contain your drawing itself. Rather, you'd have to go to the model canvas, and here you can export your geometry by going to the main menu, export, and select your DWG. Let's do an example. And you can see here that you will export your DWG. You have some advanced settings if you wish, like exporting the images and the textures from your file. Once you click on export, Rayon will prepare your file, and once you click on download, it will be in your download file. Note that when you're exporting a DWG file, it will export whatever you have on a specific canvas. So I just exported this drawing, but if I wanted to export my millwork drawing as well, I'd have to go ahead and do this once again. So this is a good way to kind of split your DWG file to contain only what you need. If you do need everything to be in one DWG, you can always copy and paste. So it's essentially really easy to right-click, copy, and then I can go to my other floor plan and paste that there. And in this case, it will export the full model. You see the one that we just added right here as well. So really up to you to decide what meets your needs best. That's for DWG and DXF export. For PDF export, I'll go back to our paper canvas. Once you're ready to export your pages, you can go to the page panel, which lives here on the left, and you'll find all the pages that you have in your model. You can then click on a specific page or just select all of them. You can also rearrange your pages by just dragging and dropping them like I just did right now. And once you click on export, you'll have an export tab. Let's say we want to export all pages and not just this one. So I'll unselect, click this again, and then I can browse through my pages. This is also where I can change my model or my file's name. I can go between PDF to PNG. Note that I have different settings for the image quality of my export or the PDF quality, and then some advanced settings as well. Once you export your drawing, it will be saved on your desktop. All right, another option that you have in Rayon, which is unique to Rayon, being web-based, is to share your drawing as a URL link. So if you are the owner of your model, you can publish a presentation. In this case, I'm not the owner, I'm just an editor. Let me jump into another model where I own, let's say this one, and you'll see here the share option is enabled, and it will let me create a presentation of my drawing. So in this case, we haven't really developed this file yet, but let's take a sneak peek. This will look like this basically, so like PDF viewer, but an online one. And you'll note that whenever you make a change in your original file, you can refresh your link, and so your clients or stakeholders always have a synced representation of your project. So those are the 3 ways to kind of export your work in different formats or share it online. We also have different collaborative features. We can already discuss these while we're at it. So as you saw, other than sharing a presentation, you can also do things like invite other stakeholders into your model. So this is where you could enter an email of your colleagues or teammates and have them work with you as editor, admin, or viewer and invite them. You could then leave comments and annotations for each other. So you see here that I already have some people collaborating with me in this file. And I can also add comments and annotations to communicate with them directly. So for example, if I grab the comment tool, I can add it here, tag a person who is invited to my model, and write my comment and post it. I can also do things like annotate. So if I grab the annotation tool, I can say, maybe let's make this door wider, or let's cancel this, and so on and so forth. So this is another kind of advantage you have in Rayon. Instead of what you're doing in AutoCAD today, which is likely taking snapshots and sending them in emails, in Rayon you can communicate and collaborate directly on your file. All right, let's leave the comment panel. And the next topic I want to talk about is creating templates and setting yourself up for your next project. As you've seen, we can create style libraries and block libraries to kind of streamline our work across our models. And this is also the place where it's worth to mention how templates would work. So I'm going to jump into Canvas in this project, which is called Design System. And coming from AutoCAD, a lot of times your templates may look something like this. You'll have your title block, and then kind of an example of different styles you're using across your model, wall and line strokes, text, and blocks. So you already know that this is actually streamlined with Rayon's in-app libraries. So all our blocks, instead of just being on a canvas, live in the block panel, and all our styles, instead of being on the canvas, are here directly in the library. So to that extent, what you're used to from AutoCAD, having a template with your styles and blocks, is already a built-in feature in Rayon. But still, let's see how you can build a template to resemble what you know and love, if you want, or just to contain, for example, title blocks that you're going to use in each project. So that's the first difference between AutoCAD templates and Rayon templates. AutoCAD templates are a file which you need to copy each time you start a new project. And in Rayon, you have all the libraries and the templates in your built-in as part of your workspace. You don't have to copy any files. They're all web-based. And once you create a new project from a template, it will automatically copy it. Let me show you how that works. So I just want to go back to our workspace in Rayon, back to models. Whenever you create a model that is a template, essentially, it will have this tag right here that indicates that it's a template. And whenever you're ready to start a new project, you can start by creating a template. So you can go to your personal space, new model, and here, instead of creating a new model from scratch, it will load the templates that you have in store. You can see here that I have a bunch of templates that I've been using. This is how I would kind of recreate my template, and I can go ahead and start drawing from there. Another key element that you have in your current template and you want to import into Rayon is probably your title block. So let's spend the next few minutes to discuss that. Title blocks in Rayon can be either static or can be enhanced with metadata options. This will help you update data across your title blocks without manually changing it each time. So you have two options basically. Either start by an import of your company's DWG title block, or with Rayon's. You can either edit your own title block and add metadata props, or use the ones that Rayon already has. Before diving into the custom metadata props, I do want to show you the vast array of options we have for title blocks. So I'm clicking on the Find Blocks, and then I'll just search for units, and I'll write here title block. And you'll see here that we have a really vast array of options. Once you drag and drop these onto the canvas, you can then change their size to match your page size, of course. All right. Now, if we just look at this title block as of its own, we can see that it has already some custom metadata options that you can start using, like the project name, drawing number, project number, and so on and so forth. And you can also add your own. So if you were importing your title block, it would be basically a similar process. Let's show how that would work. So for example, here we have the name and other. If we click on this and we click on the text, we can understand which prop it is. So I'm just going to click on the name here, and you can see the drawing name is written here. And if I want to override this easily, all I have to do is call this, Resi Project instead of Office Project, for example, and we'll see that it's overridden right here. I can also add custom properties onto this. So let's click on the plus button, and let's say that we want to maybe add company or rep architect. Let's click on the plus button. We'll call this Archie Rep. This will be a text input, and of course you have different options here for custom props. And let's save that. You see it was added down here. Now we can click on our title block to edit it. So we're going to go to Edit, and let's add a text input for rep. Now here, instead of just being raw text, I want it to be a variable. The variable will actually summon the custom prop I just created. So I'm going to click on Add Variable, and then let's click on Archie Rep. There you go. It's now empty because my value is empty. So let's fill in a name, and let's say that Sean is the rep, and you'll see it was edited here. What this will actually enable me is to use this title block again and again with different information input in it. So for example, for different projects, I can give different project names. I can change the reps. I can change the sheet number if it's for the same project, right? So I can change this to be A2. And essentially, this is how I can use my title blocks and my templates throughout the different projects that I have. We're going to link in the description a more step-by-step robust explanation of how to customize your own title block and add metadata properties onto it. And as you'll see, our documentation contains all the information you need in the first place about anything in Rayon. So once your title block has been updated and you have the styles you'd like in this model and the blocks you like in this model, whether if you created them here or used a style and block library, you can make this all in one template, including all these elements. All you have to do is go to the Share button, visit the Template tab, and toggle it. Now, whenever you want to start a new model, or your colleagues and team want to, you can all start from a one source of truth that will always be updated and will appear in your new model section from your workspace. That's a wrap for the last episode in the series How to Switch to Rayon from your legacy CAD tools. By now, you hopefully understand how to export your work at scale at different formats, how to create templates in libraries, and how to collaborate with other stakeholders using Rayon. This whole tutorial series was meant to help you transition smoothly from your current CAD software into the Rayon environment, and we hope it did so. If you're looking for more information, refer to the links in the description to read more in our documentation and watch more tutorials. We look forward for your feedback in our community, and of course, feel free to reach out with any follow-up questions or support needed. Have a good one.